Kyrie. We've been here for 5 years now, you guys, and it's been kind of crazy. And as Wendy had said, that we're like two churches that are like collaborating. We're a little bit different, but we agree on a lot more things than we disagree on. What we said when we got together is, UCSC, like, they need Jesus. And so we said, I don't know why you guys are here. Maybe you guys have been here before. You've been coming regularly. Maybe it's your first time here. Maybe you're a freshman, a transfer. Maybe you're here because a friend brought you and you don't really know much or care much about Jesus. But we're basically here to say, this community is about Jesus. And one of the most central things about Jesus is his church, his bride, his people. And so this is like the church's extension saying, hey, we want you all to be a part of the bride of Christ. We all want to be a part of the church, part of Jesus. And so why are we here? We're here to love one another, to love each other, to love God. And all the staff that are here, to be honest, it's pretty much our bedtimes already, right? And we're just only halfway through the group. I don't know if you guys knew that. But we're here because we want to invest in you guys. So if you guys have questions, if you need prayer, if you just want to talk or play basketball. I love playing basketball. Play basketball.
I will not play basketball with you.
I will play the basketball for her. I enjoy basketball. If you're really good, then I'm just kidding. No, but we want to be with you. We want to hang out with you. We want to do life with you. And because I remember when I first came to college, it's kind of strange, not having any parents telling me when you should go to bed or anything. And if you want us to tell you when to go to bed, we can do that. I would prefer not to personally, but just hang out with different people in different ages. And so with that, before we jump in, there's a question that I have for you guys to ask your neighbor. This topic is about faith. We're going to enter a series about faith, hope, and love, kind of the three of the big virtues of Christianity. And so I want you to turn to your neighbor and say, what is faith? I know it's a very broad question. So I'm okay. I tend to be a more philosophical person, so I enjoy those questions. But I kind of narrowed it down for you. So what makes a car, a dog, a friend, or a spouse faithful? Does that make sense? What are the attributes of a faithful car, a faithful dog, a faithful friend, a faithful spouse? And where do they overlap? Does that make sense? So turn to your neighbor, you can group of 2 or 3 or 4, and just talk about that for a little bit, and then we'll jump in. Introduce yourself, too. Introduce yourself.
We're the sheep, and the sheep know the voice.
A loyal friend.
I know.
Faithful.
All right, 15 more seconds.
Loyalty. Reliability.
All right, wrap up your last line. Wrap it up.
I think I describes it. Yeah, I know that from a song. I know that you know a little too much. Biblical knowledge.
So let's throw out some buzzwords. What was a faithful, what makes something faithful? Reliable. Yeah, that's a great one. What else? Loyalty.
That was mine.
Oh, dang. Genius to think alike. Trustworthy. Awesome. Anything else? Any other buzzwords you got? Go. I like those. Huh? Constant. Awesome. Not a variable, but a constant. Sorry. Keep going. Reliable. Okay, cool. So, when I was thinking about what was faith, one thing that I really enjoy, I kind of think of situations. And so, I was thinking about situations that may seem faithful, but aren't, right? So one example for me growing up that I was thinking about was that let's say, this is realistic, but I'm going to say in a hypothetical situation. Let's say I was at home, say I was a teenager and my mom was talking to me. She's like, okay, so did you do your homework? And I said yes. But the reality was that I did not do my homework, right? And so that wasn't faithful, right? Because my word was straight up a lie, right? I was not being faithful because I was just being dishonest. I was unreliable. I was not constant. I was just lying, right? Like, okay, so in order to be faithful, I need to like say the truth, like be true to my word, right? And I thought of another situation. So I have a 1.5-year-old, right? His name's Ezra, and he often he wears a diaper, and so that diaper needs to get changed because no one wants to sit in there, for too long, right? And so what often happens is I'll be doing something or Wendy will be doing something, and so let's just say Wendy was making dinner, and she was like, hey, can you change Ezra's diaper? I think he pooped. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it, right? And in my heart, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. But then I get distracted because all of a sudden I get a text. I'm like, oh, someone wants to be my friend. I'm super excited, and I forget, right? And Wendy knows because she's not wise. She's like, Thomas is forgetful. So she's like, hey dear, did you happen to change Ezra's diaper? And I say, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. I'll do it right now, right? But then right before I'm about to do it, I knock over a cup of water because I'm clumsy. And I'm cleaning up the water, and I totally forget to change the diaper. The question is, am I being faithful in that situation? I would say I'm not. So I would say that faithfulness requires true to your word, but also having the intention, but also being true to my word. I need to actually do what I'm going to say, right? And so we're going to dive into the Bible, and we're going to look at the story of Hosea and Gomer, which you may not know either of those two people, but they're pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting story. I figured let's dive into some little crazy stuff for our first meeting. So before I do, I just want you guys to pray with me. You guys bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this opportunity for all these students here at UCSC to gather. Some may not know why they're here. Some may be here for Jesus or for friends, or maybe they're looking for a significant other. I don't know why they're here, God. But I thank you that you brought them. And I pray that through this message that we can all grow in faith, that we can recognize just how faithful you have been to us, and just overflow with wanting to be faithful to you, God. So I pray that this group, we encourage one another, that we love one another, that we forgive one another, and that we glorify you. So thank you, Pastor, and something. Amen. Okay, you guys. So I'm just giving you guys a warning. This story is kind of intense, right? And so what is it? Right? Faithfulness is keeping one's word and intention, right? So I could say something and not really want to do it and still do it, but it's not total complete faithfulness. My wife's will you wash the dishes? I'm like, okay, fine, I'll wash the dishes. There's an element that's not totally faithful. And so faithfulness is keeping one's word and intention through action. Right? So you want to do what you say, and you do what you say, right? So, story of Hosea and Gomer. So this is kind of intense. So if any words here offend you, we'll go through it together. So this is Hosea 1:2. So Hosea, little background, if you guys are reading, I should take it out. So Hosea is a prophet in the Old Testament, and basically what a prophet does is a prophet speaks. One of the things that a prophet does is a prophet speaks on behalf of God to the people of Israel, right? So the people of Israel, the people of God. If you're a Christian, you can kind of say, oh, I'm like the people of Israel. And the prophet's okay, what is the prophet saying to me? Okay? And so God often tells the prophet to do certain things, right? So we're going to jump in and say, okay, what is God going to tell Hosea to do? And oftentimes, prophets do things that symbolically represent the state of where Israel is at today. So this is where we're at. So we're going to jump in. Hosea 1:2. So when the Lord first spoke through Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea, go, take yourself a wife of whoredom, and have children of whoredom. The land commits great whoredom by forsaking the Lord. Kind of intense, right? Whoredom, this is kind of intense. What's going on here, right? So whoredom basically means, right, I am not being faithful, right? You could say, go and take yourself a wife of unfaithfulness, and have children of unfaithfulness. For the land commits great unfaithfulness by forsaking the Lord. Because if you look at what's going on, right? Israel is called to be faithful to God and God alone. You read back in the Old Testament and say, God, Israel's yes, we'll follow you, we'll be faithful to you, we won't worship other gods. But the reality is, in this stage of their life, they are worshiping many other gods. And so they are unfaithful. They're being poor. This is kind of intense language, but sometimes we kind of need intense language in our lives because we're just still deaf to it, right? So this is what's going on. So what's going on? So God just said to Hosea, go marry someone that's unfaithful. God, I don't know if that's wise. When you marry someone, don't you think you should be do you want to do this? Right? And not just oh yeah, I want to just be that they actually want to do this and they're going to go through with it. And so at the start, we're like, okay, God, what is going on here? Why are you telling Hosea, your prophet, to do this, right? And so it's kind of a weird story, as I told you guys. And so what ends up happening is they get married, and they have 3 children. And basically what ends up happening is that the wife of unfaithfulness, wife of whoredom, is unfaithful. And she leaves Hosea for at least one lover. Sometimes some commentators say like it's several lovers. And Hosea is like left, kind of like in the dust, right? And on one hand, you're like, okay, well, Hosea, like, you should kind of have expected this. But like, whenever I read these kind of like crazy stories, I'm like, okay, like, I'm gonna do my best to like try to imagine I'm Hosea. Like, this is still a hard situation. Like, he has 3 kids with this person, right? And that's hard. And so, in the midst of his like separation from his wife and his children, this is what God tells him. This is Hosea 3:1-3. He says, and the Lord said to me, and this is Hosea, go again, love a woman who is loved by another man. That woman is Gomer. That's the wife, right? The wife of unfaithfulness. Love a woman who is loved by another man and is an adulteress. Even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, though they turn to other gods and love cakes of raisin. Okay, so what's the cakes of raisin about? Like, what's wrong with cakes of raisin? Cakes of raisin, you guys, if you know, are sinful. No, I'm just kidding. Cakes of raisin were eaten as like a worship to other gods. And so it's kind of like, it's like a consummation of like my like idolatry to this god, right? And so that's why this is wrong. Like, you can totally eat cakes of raisins, it's not wrong unless you're eating to other gods. Then don't do it, right? So that's why that's there, right? And so what's going on here, right? So God is like, okay, so this unfaithful woman in your life, you're going to now go and get it again. And it's like, well, how are you supposed to do that, right? Hosea 2 is kind of interesting, right? It says, so I bought her for 15 shekels of silver and an omer and a lechton of barley. Okay, omer, lechton, it's not that important. The red flag, like, okay, this is like a misogynistic culture, right? Because he bought her, right? Like, come on, like, that's messed up, right? So we have to think, okay, why did he have to buy her? What's most likely the reason why he had to buy her was because her idolatry led her into slavery. She had to sell herself to survive. And so what Hosea is doing is not like buying her as a property, but it's buying her to free her. So this is interesting part of the story. So okay, so not only has this person left you, but you are like, and has hurt you emotionally, but you are now going to have to sacrifice your own personal wealth for her sake. And she's a woman of unfaithfulness. Like, how do I know she's not going to do this again? Right? So this Hosea is like kind of a foolish dude. It might seem, huh? He's like, what are you doing? Like, if one of you guys came to me and was like, hey, look, like, there's like this guy or girl that I like, and like, you know, like they just like keep cheating on me, right? They keep cheating on me, and I just really want to be with them, but they just keep doing it, and I'd be like, you should probably leave. Like, that would be like the wise thing to say. So we'd say, okay, if this goes against wisdom, what is God's point, right? So let's now go to verse 3, right? And so verse 3 says, and I said to her, so this is after he bought her, right? After she's like now freed from her slavery, now she's with Hosea once again. So Hosea said to Gomer, you must dwell as mine for many days. You shall not play the whore or belong to another man. So will I also be with you. So this is a story about faithfulness, right? This is a story about, how is about faithfulness? This is a message about faithfulness. How does this relate to faithfulness? So Gomer was like in slavery. She was kind of like in this like probably a poor condition, probably not being treated very well. And she was bought out by Hosea once again, who like lives like a decent life. And now she's free. And the question is, what are we supposed to do with Gomer's freedom? What is she supposed to do now? And Hosea tells her, he's like, look, this is what you gotta do. Don't be a whore. Don't be unfaithful. Right? I know it's kind of crass, right? But this is the Bible. Hey, this is an exciting book, right? Don't be unfaithful. Don't belong to another man. And so also will I be with you. So, I want to share a story about my life. There was a time in my life where I was looking for work. This will happen to you guys very likely. I was married to my wife for about a year and a half, and I quit my job because it's not that important. I quit my job, and I didn't have anything lined up because I thought it was like a good idea. And in that time, I was talking to, I know, stop, see, he knows what he's talking. He's like, why would you do that? I don't know why I did that. I was young and foolish. I quit my job and I had nothing lined up, and I met with a friend who was joining like a sales business. So like sales businesses, like you always got kind of careful of them because they're like, are they a pyramid scheme? Like what's going on? But they said they're like run by Christians, and so like I kind of looked into it. I read reviews. Like I looked up like the Better Business Bureau thing. Like, oh, like they're like pretty decently rated. They don't seem like a scam. And I was like, like if I like start my own like sales business, which is like kind of their model, like like it's 100% commission based. So like if you do well, then you get paid and we get some of it. But like it's all on me. So I was like, what, like this could work. Like I was trying to start Kyrie, I was trying to be more involved, and I was like, if I have my own business, then like I'll have a more flexible schedule. One day I may even be able to like hire some college students. Like I'll be able to make more money than I would be able to make if I didn't do this. Like this seems like a good idea. So my wife and I, we flew to Orlando to go to a training to like check this out. And it was like we both like, oh, like this is exciting. Like this could be like, this is cool. Like the people here are so nice. Like it seems like such a good idea. Like we're bringing communities together with like the product that I'm selling. So I got back and I was like pumped. I was like, all right, what? This is it. I figured out like where I'm going in life. Maybe because I felt that sometimes. Maybe you haven't yet. But I was pretty pumped. And what happened was I didn't do very well. So like the first 2 weeks, like I was like, okay, like I had like a mentor who was like helping me through. He's like, like it's okay. You haven't made any sales yet. Like just keep trying. Just keep trying. And so weeks turned into months. And after like 3 months, I was like for like over 100 meetings, and I have to call and make meetings, so I probably got rejected over 1,000 times at least. Probably more like 1,500 times over the phone, and then 100 times in person. And I was like, the numbers aren't adding up. I'm a numbers guy, I really like numbers, but like zero, like you don't have enough, like 0 is 0, right? Like that's not good. So I was like 3 months, 0 sales, and like just so you guys know, if you schedule a meeting, what they say is if you're an average salesperson, you close 25% of your sales. If you're bad, you close 10%. Right? So if I was bad, I should have closed 10 of my 100 sales, right? There's a beyond bad, right? Horrific might be the right word to describe me, right? And so I was like in a rut, and I was like, what is going on? Like this was supposed to work. And it crippled me. And my wife kind of like had to like sit and watch like me like suffer and like be like, okay, I can do this. And like, no, I can't. I can do this. No, I can't. And she watched me kind of just like stuck under this like crushing weight of like this thing that I thought I had to do. And while it's not exactly like Gomer, what I want to kind of pose is that like in life, if you guys like when you're going through like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like that Hosea guy. I'm gonna say that it's probably more likely that you're like the Gomer, where you pursue something in your life and you want it so bad, but you can't get it, and that weight starts to crush you, right? Like maybe it's like a grades, maybe it's a job, maybe it's like being a certain type of friend or a certain type of spouse or not having, or a certain type of like significant other, or not having a significant other, like who knows what it may be. But oftentimes we pursue things that actually enslave us. We think they're good. Oh, there's a good vision. But when we make that our goal in life, that enslaves us. And so what I want to point out to you guys when we look at this story is that faithfulness here, this is a very like Jesus story, right? Hosea, Jesus. Gomer is us in the truth. So Hosea, right, what did he do? He went out and decided to love people of unfaithfulness, right? Us, right? Jesus died on the cross for people. He went out to like minister to people of unfaithfulness, us, right? Then he paid the price for our freedom. Hosea paid the price for Gomer's freedom. And so what I want to point out to you, and this is kind of the beginning, is that when we look at faithfulness, we need to understand that faithfulness is God acting first. God is faithful to us first and to completion, right? He was faithful in the beginning. He was like, like I'm going to marry, like I'm going to uphold my covenant. And then we did not uphold the marriage covenant. We were the unfaithful one. We were the whore, however you want to say it, right? That's what we were. And God's like, you know what? Still, I'm going to free you from what you have been enslaved to, and I'm going to love you. I'm going to be with you. And so as we segue into our second part of like, okay, so we believe that God is faithful to us. And that's super important, that God is faithful to us first. What does it mean for us to be faithful to him, right? And then the third verse, right? This is like what we need to ask. What does it look like for us to not be the unfaithful one, or not play the whore, or belong to another? Like, how do we do that? How do we be faithful in response to God's faithfulness, right? And so as we look into that, it's kind of like the phase 2, right? Phase 1 is God's faithfulness. So the church has had a saying, our tradition has had a saying of lex oriendi, lex credendi, which is like, okay, I didn't come here to learn Latin, not exciting. But what this means is the law of praying is the law of believing. Okay, what does that mean? So what that basically means is what I pray, how I worship, the way I live my life reflects how I am faithful. It reflects what I believe in, what I'm faithful in. So it's like, okay, if this is like something the church has believed in for a really long time, like what would be like a good way for us to like study a prayer? And so I was like, oh, I thought of a really good prayer, and it's in the Bible. It's called the Lord's Prayer. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause and we're all gonna read through the Lord's Prayer together, and then we're gonna break down and say, okay, what does this actually mean? What are we saying that we believe in? What does faithfulness look like? And we're gonna go through 5 points of faithfulness from the Lord's Prayer. So if anyone can stand with me. Lord's Prayer, you guys ready? All together, I want you to do it. Ready? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial, and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Okay, you guys can all see. Thank you for doing that. That was super exciting. One thing that like is cool to think about when you pray this, like I'm just like reading words off a screen, like whatever, but like these are like words that Jesus told his disciples to be praying. So like ever since like there have been Christians, this prayer has been prayed. So it's like, I don't know, for me that's kind of cool. Anyways, and back to side. So, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. So what does this say about faith? What do I believe when I say this? This is basically saying, do I believe that God is holy? Right? Hallowed is a fancy word for holy. So do I believe that God is holy? Now what does that mean? Do I believe that God is good? Right? And so when we think about the way we live our lives, how do we determine what makes something good or bad? Right? Like in our culture, it's especially confusing. Like, you're like, well, as long as like it's like positive, as long as there's like love, you know, like love is good, right? Well, what is love? Like, what is love? Like, what does love mean? Right? And how do we define what's good love or what's bad love? Like, yeah, sorry, it's a shot. Never mind. Anyway, so how do you determine like what is good, right? Do we look to the Word of God for what is good, or do we look to our peers for what's okay? Is this like socially? Like, well, if everyone else is doing it, it must be good because like my friends are doing it, or like my dorm mates are doing it, so it must be okay. Or are we looking for like the culture, like like I saw Kim Kardashian do it, so like it must be fine for me. What do we look to in determining what is good and acceptable and pleasing to God? So when we say, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, what we're saying is that God, you are holy and you are good, and I want to be good like you, not like my peers or the culture necessarily. Does that make sense? And so, number one, what am I saying? Do I believe that God is holy and perfect, right? What does faithfulness look like? Number one, faithfulness recognizes God as holy. Faithfulness recognizes God as holy. So second part of it. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So what are we saying here? What do we believe when we say this? We're saying that the ultimate goal of creation, of our lives, of everything that exists, is for the sake of the kingdom of God to be here on earth. Okay, that's kind of cool. What does that mean, right? So, does the way I live my life align with what God is going to do at the end of time? Well, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of time. We should read about it. But if you don't read about it, like, does your life align with the will of God, right? And so what does that mean? That means like you need to know who God is. Right? You need to like be with God. You need to spend time with Him, with His church, with His Word, with His community, and say, does the way I live my life align with God, or does it align with something else? Maybe it's like my parents' desires. Maybe it's like my own desires. Maybe it's like my friends' desires, my spouse's desires, or my significant other's desires. Like, how do I live my life? And do I align it with God? And so, like, for example, like, let's say I can think about, like, my goals, right? Like, let's say you're here, and probably have a situation, you're like, I really wish that I had a boyfriend or girlfriend. Let's just say that was you. I'm totally hypothetical. I know that's probably maybe one of you here, right? You want someone that, like, is with you. And that's not a good or a bad desire in itself. Like, that's just a desire. What makes it good is why you have a desire. So let's say you have a desire for, like, I just want to cuddle with someone. Like, to be honest, like, it's just like, I just like a warm body next to me. Right? Maybe that's not like, that's probably not a good reason why. But maybe you're like, I want a significant other because, when I read the Bible, God uses the marriage metaphor a lot to describe his love, kind of like Hosea. And like Hosea, I want to love a gomer. I want to love someone who is unfaithful to me. And I want to be able to demonstrate, like, say, you know what, no matter what you do, I will still love you. And that's funny. It's funny. But the reality, when you get married, it's true. Like, I'm a terrible person, and my wife can be terrible too. Like, she's better than that, but she can be terrible too. And we can both be very unlovable. And there's times where I'm like, okay, I guess so. It's funny, but it's true. Your significant other, when you marry them, you will realize that they are quite evil. They can be quite evil. It's true. You probably know that you're close friends, and imagine living, like, you can't escape. Like, friends like, hey, see you later. Like, hey, see you. Oh, we're going out together. Oh, same bed. Oh, shoot. I'll take the couch, right? And so the reality is that, like, what are the good reasons, right? It's actually, like, such a sanctifying practice for me to be like, Wendy, like, you've wronged me, but I love you still. Or, you know what, Wendy, like, I've wronged you, and I don't deserve you to forgive me, but, like, I'm sorry. And I want to change. Like, that is a good reason to find a spouse, to find a significant other, right? And so it's not about, like, what we want, but it's about why we want it most of the time. Cool. So what does it look like here? Faithfulness aligns one's goals in life with God. The reason why I do what I do, the job I want, the life I want, the family I want, the fill in the blank that I want, is because it aligns with the kingdom of God. I'm doing this for the sake of God. I'm doing this because this is what God wants. This is like bringing God's kingdom here on earth. And if you think about it, like, the fact that we get to do that is crazy. Like, why would God want to use me? Like, that seems like a very bad idea. Anyways, here we go. Third part. Give us today our daily bread. What does it say? Do I believe that God gives us all things? Right? Like, bread is like the base. Like, if I don't have food, like, I'm pretty grumpy. When I get hungry, I'm pretty grumpy. It's like, do I believe that God will provide for me, right? And so this is kind of like saying, like, okay, with what God has given me, with the provisions God has given me, how do I utilize these opportunities that I've been given? Like, you guys are all here at college, right? Super exciting. How are you going to use that? This education of yours, right? Sometimes we'll say, like, the BA is kind of becoming useless now. But hopefully, it's not, right? Hopefully this is a meaningful time in your life. So the question is, how do you use this meaningful time in life? This 4 years that you get to, like, not work, but you kind of get to, like, manage your own schedules, and you get to, like, hang out till 3 in the morning, and you get to do all this stuff. How are you going to do that? Are you going to do a job for yourself? Are you going to do it for God or for yourself? Are you going to do it for money? Or what's your purpose in this, right? And so, typically in situations, we like, let's say, like, life is good, right? We tend to attribute it to, like, two types of things. Like, one thing I've heard a lot is, like, I am, like, so grateful that, like, my parents, like, they were good parents, they're paying for my college, like, they brought me here, like, I'm so grateful. So, like, I owe them a lot. Like, they're the reason why I'm here, right? Or the other one is, like, I worked my butt off to get here. Like, I'm here on full scholarships because I'm just, like, I worked hard for them. Like, and then I got half scholarship, and I'm working part-time for the other half. Like, I'm paying my way to get here. Like, this is, like, I am bringing me here. Those are typically two things. Like, like, oh, the people have invested in me. Like, I'm doing this. And what we need to be challenged when we say, like, give us today our daily bread. Like, Wendy, like, Wendy, like, what if I tell you, dear, like, this food on the table, I brought it because I paid for it, right? That's not what we're supposed to do when we say this. We're supposed to say, God, from you come all things, right? So let's say, like, God may have used your parents to give you this opportunity, but we need to trace all things that we have from God. Every good and perfect gift comes from God. All things that we have are God's. And when we say that, everything is God's, what that does is that not only humbles us, but it makes us question, how do we use our resources? Maybe you guys are like, well, I don't have a lot of money. I'm a college student. Time is a very, very valuable resource. How do you use your time? How do you use your friends and your relationships? Do you use them? Do you serve them? Do you love them? Do you treat them poorly? Why are they your friends? And so, number 3, what does faithfulness look like from this? Faithfulness attributes all provisions to God. And what this does, this puts us in our right place of recognize, like, God, like, you have given me all things. And because of you, my life is yours. Cool. So here's the next part. And forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. This is kind of an exciting one, guys. The reason why it's exciting, and I don't know if you guys know, this is the only part in the Lord's Prayer that like we are supposed to do something. Everything else, like, okay, like our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, the kingdom come. It is all about, okay, this is you, God, this is you, God. Now, as we forgive those who sin against us. I think if Jesus told you to pray, and the one thing that you're supposed to do is forgive, that's scary. Now, if he says then, well, forgive our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. It almost seems like, is my forgiving heart contingent upon God's forgiveness? And I'm not going to say that it is. But the point here is that, do you forgive? The mark of a Christian, the realize when you're in community people, like let's say you have a roommate, and maybe some of you have roommate problems already, it's hard to forgive them because they're wronging you. You feel at risk. But the mark of the Christian says, you know what? Because I have been forgiven, I forgive. So what are we saying here? Do I forgive as I've been forgiven? I would say one of the most significant marks of a Christian is, and I would want Kyrie to be known for, is do we forgive one another? You know, like in college, there's a lot of drama that goes on. Oh, he did this, he said this, she said this, and then he said that, and then, oh my gosh. It's terrible. Or they didn't invite me to this, or they didn't do that. Why? They're just not that nice to me. Or, he's kind of arrogant, or whatever it may be. Like, he's hurt me. Like, maybe I saw him cheated. That's wrong, right? Like, do we forgive? And Richard says, like, where does our forgiveness come from? It comes from understanding that so maybe you're like, okay, I'm just, like, not very good at forgiving. Like, I just, like, things just really bother me. What I would challenge you to do is think about how God has forgiven you. Because the reality is that, like, we are not, like, big people. We are, like, kind of petty. And if we don't have, like, an example, we most likely will not exceed much. Does that make sense? Like, if we don't, like, have an example, like, okay, like, this is, like, the amount of forgiveness I've been given, so I can do, like, this much. Right? If I don't have this example, then I'm like, well, I can't even forgive this much because, like, how much do I have? I mean, like, I don't know. And so, dwell upon how much God has forgiven you. So, what does faithfulness look like here? Faithfulness forgives as we have been forgiven. And I want to stress this because this is, like, your role in the Lord's Prayer. Your role is to forgive. And Christ, and this is, like, we get, like, theological, right? Christ has come for a ministry of reconciliation. What's reconciliation? It's like forgiveness, right? And so we're called to, like, forgive one another, to reconcile one another. So, like, if you have a problem with your brother and sister, like, deal with it. And if you need help with that, like, talk to one of the staff, and, like, we can, like, talk to you, talk to both of you, talk to the other person. We can work that out. But we want to forgive one another. It's super important. Cool. So 5th point. This is the last point, but not going to. Save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil. So, what does this say? Do I believe that God is in control of everything, the good and the bad that happens? Save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil. So, like, one of the big questions that we get in college, and that we ask ourselves many times, like, why does my life suck? Or why does life suck for some people? Why is there suffering in this world? Right? And a personal example for this one is that, like, for a long time, I asked myself, why did my parents divorce? I don't understand. Like, why, if God loved me, why would he make my family not only different, but broken? Why would a good God do that? And when I pray this prayer, save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil, I'm saying that, God, in this moment of me not seeing where you may take me, I believe that you will save me from this time of trial and deliver me from evil. And the reality is for me, like, as I've grown up, worked through, got married, had a kid, I've been able to recognize that the divorce in my life, while it was a terrible thing, through that divorce, God has grown me significantly. And I think if you guys think about hard times in your life, for some reason, it's the hard times that you actually grow in. For some reason. And so it's not saying that, like, God wants evil upon you, but that God can redeem it. And do I believe that God can redeem it? That's what this is saying. Do I believe that God can redeem this, right? So, what does faithfulness look like here? Faithfulness trusts God even in suffering. Maybe even especially in suffering. All right, so here's the last part of the prayer. And if, this This prayer is in Matthew 6. This is actually not in Matthew 6, but it was added in the church tradition. Super awesome statement. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. What am I saying? Do I believe that everything is for the kingdom and the glory of God? I think in our life, we like to kind of like compartmentalize. Okay, like, this is like my me time, this is like my school time, this is like my church time, this is like my basketball friend time, this is like my family time. And I feel like say like, like these are like the way I order my life, right? Well, what does this say? Is that in all that you do it for the glory of God. Do I believe that everything is for the kingdom and glory of God? Like even like the way you like do your homework. Like what? Is it homework? Like how does that do anything? Like who cares if I actually do, like does God care? Like if who cares? Like I can do my assignment, like is that such a big deal? I don't know. But is all that you do for the kingdom and glory of God? Are your grades like, I got an A, yes, because I'm so smart. Is that why? So, from this statement, what does faithfulness look like? And some of you may be thinking, okay, Thomas, you said 5, and you already had 5, so can you not count? Here we go. Good question. Here we go. So, this last point, we're going to go through the story of C.T. Studd. This dude was born in 1860, and he kind of represents a very faithful life. He lived from 1860 to 1931, and as you guys listen to this story, I love the love stories. I love the story of Jose and Gomer because I can kind of like put myself in their shoes and like, what does that be like? But also love stories like the Christians of like our history. The people who have died that like we kind of stand on their shoulders, we don't really know it. Like people have paved the way for us, right? So C.T. Studd is one of these dudes. And so he was one of 3 sons, born in England, and his father was very wealthy. And in that time, right, England had like kind of like a trading relationship with India. And so his father made his money in India and was like back in England, like spending it, right? And C.T. Studd, he was, and this is like kind of a pun, I have bad jokes, but he was a stud. So he was like a professional cricket player. He played for Cambridge. He was like going to represent his country. Like he was like at the pinnacle of life. He was like, people liked him. He was good at what he did. He had like a financial future. He also had financial stability. Like he did not need much in life. And all of a sudden, he went to a meeting where there were Christians, and they challenged him, and he felt called to go to China as a missionary. And so here's this guy, right, who has it all. And all of a sudden he goes to China, right? It gets better. So while in China, right, he turns 25, and according to his father's will, his father says, you know what? When you're 25, I think like that's when you're going to get your portion of the will, right? And so this is a pretty wealthy father, so he's like got a lot of money, right? And so I want to pause here and say that right now, he has done the 2 faithful things. The first 2 points. He has saw God as holy. He has aligned his life with God. He said, you know what? God, even though I'm doing really well, I'm super successful, people like me, I am going to say not what everyone says I'm doing good. I'm going to say what you say is good. I'm going to go make disciples of all nations. And then I'm going to align my life and actually do it. So he did 1 and 2 of the Lord's Prayer, right? He saw God as holy. He aligned his life with God. Now he got this money, right? And he's like, you know what? This is not my money. And they're like, yes, sir, this is your money. Like, this is the will. That's for you. He's like, no. And he gave away the majority of his money. And he was left with like 3,500 pounds, which is, I don't know, in that time, but that's still a lot of money. And today it's like $7,000, but back then it's probably a lot more. He's like 3,500 pounds. He like gave it to this ministry, that ministry. This is a lot of money. He's like, just like, here, like your ministry needs it, your ministry. He's just giving it all away. Why? Number 3, right? He recognized that all of his possessions, all of his provisions come from God, right? Give us this day our daily bread. He's like, this money that I'm getting could be someone else's daily bread. I don't need a lifetime of money. I just need my daily bread from you. So he basically he kind of like rejected his father, saying, no, I don't need that money. I'm going to like live for Christ, right? And so here he is, like he's okay, I have like a little bit of money left. He's in Asia, and he meets this girl who's also a missionary, and he's like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna give you the rest of the money. Like, it's like, right? And this is what she tells him. I think this is hilarious because it's actually really awesome. And she told him this. his name's Charlie. Charlie, I don't know what T stands for. Charlie T stud. And she says, Charlie, what did the Lord tell the rich young man to do? If you don't know the story, he said, go sell everything and give all your money to the poor and follow me. He says, what, Charlie, what did the Lord tell the rich young man to do? So we will start with this upon our wedding. What she's implying is that, why did you give this to me? Give this to God. This is all God's. And so this wife is also saying, God, you give me my daily bread. I don't need this security of money. Okay, let's keep going with this life. So 10 years of ministering in India and China, he's forced to return to England because he's just like, he has health issues. He's getting old. He's getting heart attacks. He's like getting kind of decrepit, right? And what ends up happening is that like, he has these doctors that are like tending to him, and then he has like these like business people who are like paying for it because he has no money because he gave it all away, and so like he's like getting his medical treatment, and he's like hearing about like how the people in Central Africa like need Christ. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go. And his doctor's like, you should not go. Like your health, like you're probably gonna die there. Like it's just don't do it. And his supporters like look, CT Stud, like I get that you like love Charles, I get that you love God, you want to serve him, but like if you go, we're not going to support you because we don't want to like, I kind of feel like we'd be like killing you, like if we're paying you for you to die. And so he like gathers them all and he meets with them. He says, gentlemen, God has called me to go, and I will go. I will blaze the trail, though my grave may only be a stepping stone, that younger men may follow. His grave, like his tombstone, stepping stone, so people will step upon him, so that they can reach the people of Africa. I'm almost there. Thank you. So what's going on here, right? He's called to forgive his supporters, right? Forgiveness. Like those people wronged him. Like why would you support me? Like why would you like try to like force me not to pursue God and be faithful? He forgave them, as God has forgiven them. And lastly, like in his sickness and his suffering, he trusted that God was still going to use him to the end of his life. And so I kind of want to sum up, like, okay, Thomas, you said a lot. You said 5 points. You talked about like some like whoredom, like I don't know what's going on. I want you, if you leave with one thing, I want you to leave with this last quote that C.T. Studd said. He said, "Only one life will soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last." You see, C.T. Studd understood something that we don't really get that clearly. It's that all the things that you want or that you hope for, if it's not for Christ, it's not going to last. We can be faithful because of what God has done for us. And so, before we end, I want to pray the Lord's Prayer again. And as you pray it, maybe like think about one of the points that stuck out to you and like really pray that to God. Like, God, like I believe this. Or maybe none of the points stuck out to you, maybe you're not a Christian, like just think it through. Like, is this worth it? So if you can all stand again, we'll do this, and then I'll pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial, and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Okay, you guys. Should I do Q&A or no? Cut it? Or no? So typically in Kyrie, after we have a message, we open up for Q&A because we're like, the reality is that like, when I was a college student, I had a lot of questions, and I like wanted to ask questions, and you can sit down. But typically I open up for Q&A, but I don't know if we should because it's late. What do you think? No?
You just cut it this way.
Does anyone have a burning question?
Yeah, does anyone have questions?
No burning questions?
Burning question.
Burning question.
You're talking about forgiveness and reconciliation. Is it you can either change them? Is there a difference?
Forgiveness is like, I forgive you. Reconciliation, like, okay, now we're good. So like, I could forgive someone that like doesn't want anything to do with me. That's not reconciling. Does that make sense? Cool. Cool. Any other questions? Thoughts? Okay. Thank you. Done?
Just pray in doxology. Yeah.
Okay.